Hello all. In SQL Server, joins are used to combine rows from two or more tables based on a related column between them, which is not true for the cross join, which we will see it later, but for other join type, you need a related column to join multiple tables. So joins allows you to retrieve data from multiple tables in a single query by establishing a relationship between these two tables or more than two tables. So there are common type of joins in SQL Server, which are inner join, very important, left join, important, right join, full join, cross join, self join. So cross join and self joins are not used that much, but inner join, left join are most important among all these join types. So let's go one by one to each of the join type. So what is the inner join? So inner join returns only the rows that have the matching values in both the tables. So if you see this Venn diagram, you will see that only the matching rows between these two tables will be retrieved. And what's the syntax for that? You have to mention the select statement or keyword, then asterisk or the name of your columns from table 1, inner join. So again keyword, table 2. So this is your table 1 which joins to table 2 on the basis of which column. Okay, so ID is the column in this scenario to join these two tables. So now let's see the example. So here we have the HR department, okay, table, and here we have the employee information table. Okay, in the HR department table we have the employee ID, employee name, and the department, and in the employee information we have the employee ID, whether that employee is a fresher, what's the salary, and the country. So inner join, as I mentioned, that it will gives you the common rows from these two tables. Okay, so in this scenario, you have the 101, 100, 101, 102. 102 is not available here, so 100, 101, and 103. So these three are the common employee ID between these two tables. So your final table will have these three rows, that is 100 employee ID, 101, and 103, with all the columns, whatever you will mention in your select clause. Okay, so inner join will give you the common rows between these two tables or the tables you are joining. So you can understand or remember this from this Venn diagram. Okay, only the common will be retrieved. Now let's go to the SQL. Or if before going to SQL, we can also see if there are more than one row with the same employee ID here. So how it will work in those scenario. Okay, so this is my first table. Okay, or I will say table A, and this is my table B. I want to join these two tables on the basis of the employee ID. Here I have the employee ID, here I have the EMP ID. Doesn't matter, but the value should be more or less similar, else you will not get any result. Okay, so now what it will do? As I told that it will give you the common rows between these two tables. So first it will match to the employee ID 1, the very first row, because here my employee ID is 1. Then it will again go to the another row. There as well it will find the employee ID 1. After that it will also find the employee ID 1. So for this you will find three rows. Okay, so it will be 1, that is your employee ID, then your employee name may be J, and then you have the city, that is Los Angeles, and then if you want to retrieve the state as well, after that it will be again 1 J, and your city will be San Diego. So I just mentioned the short form. After that as well you have the row as 1 J and then Oceanside, right? So for the first one you will find three rows. After that it will go to the row number 2, and here it will find only one row. So it will be 2 John and then New York City, right? So it will not find any other matching row here. With the third it will find this one and then this one. So it will check all the rows here, right? So it will be 3 Ajay Miami and 3 Ajay Orlando, because joins are your row level mapping. Okay, so you will find all the rows which are matching between the two tables or the number of tables you are using for join. So this will be your result set. Okay, so we should always remember that it is the row level matching or row level mapping. Joins always work at the row level. Okay, so now let's see in the SQL Server how it will work. So I have the table, that is the employee, Same thing what I have shown just now. Okay, so we have seen these two tables here, and I want to perform the inner join to find out the common rows between these two tables. So here I want to find out that the employee, whether the city, in which city that employee belongs. So in a single table, I want employee ID, employee name, and the city. So this guy J work from or resides in Los Angeles. He also may reside in San Diego and Oceanside. So he has registered three cities under his name, okay, or along with his name he has registered three cities. So what we will do, we will use select. I mentioned right now as star. We will replace it with the columns what we want to retrieve from table 1. Table 1 is my employee, and I put it E1. So what is E1? E1 is just the table alias. So if I want to retrieve the employee ID, so I will mention E1 dot employee ID, comma E1 dot employee name. So it will be helpful for the readability purpose. Inner join, then I'll use the keyword inner join, and on which table I want to use the join. So it will be my employee details, and I will mention it as E2. Now on which column? On which column I want to use it? So I can use these alias in my on condition as well. So I'll mention E1 dot employee ID equals to E2 dot EMP ID, and here as well I want to show the employee, not ID, employee city. So it will be city. Yep. So I will use the condition E1 dot, that is employee dot employee ID, to E2, that is your employee details, dot EMP ID. So it will be joined on the basis of the employee ID, even though the names are different but the values are similar. So let's run this query. So now you see that we get 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 6 rows. Okay, what we have seen in the PPT as well, just a moments back. Okay, so now as I mentioned that it is a row level mapping. Okay, it compares row by row. So you have 3 rows for the employee ID 1 and J, because this guy resides or mentioned 3 cities under his name, and then John 1 and Ajay 2. Right, so that is the inner join. So we have also used in the past the superstore data. So now let's just go to the superstore data. So I have the column orders, okay, and then I have the column returns as well. So what it does, this table contains all the order ID which were returned. Okay, so let's suppose from any online shopping store, you have ordered some items, but you returned few of them. Okay, so so returns table contains those items which were returned. So now the ask is that you want to show the details of all the orders which were returned. Okay, so it means that you need to find out the common rows between these two tables, that is your returns and the orders table. So for that, I will again use the inner join. So I will say select star from orders inner join table returns on, now which is the common column. So it's the order ID, and there as well you have the order ID. So you have the order ID here, and then you have the order ID here as well. So you have the same column in both the tables. So it will be O dot order ID equals to R dot order ID, and also I want to fetch the order ID, and then I want to fetch the whether it was returned or not. So this column returned is present in my return table. So if I run this query, how many result I will get? It depends that's what's the mapping between the orders from your orders table as well as the returns table. Because if you see in the orders table, you have the same order ID for multiple rows. Reason being because that, in this transaction, multiple products were bought. So if I scroll right, you will see that you have a different product ID. Till here, everything is same, but you have the different product ID and then the product name. Okay, that's why you have the multiple rows in this table for the same order ID. If I see in the order returns table, you will have the single row there. It means that the entire order was returned. Okay, as per the data, entire order was returned. So if I run this query, then it will check that, for one order ID, how many order IDs I have in my orders table. Okay, accordingly, it will give me the result. So let's see that one. So now you will see we have the 800 rows. So if I include the product ID as well, then you will see because there are different product ID, that's why it is the same order ID here. Okay, because in the same order you have the multiple product ordered. Okay, now you see that for the same order ID we have the different product ID. Okay, so this is a way to use the inner join. So always remember the Venn diagram, that inner joins take the common rows from both the tables. Okay, so that's all for this tutorial and I'll see you in the next one. Thank you. Hello all. So now let's understand that what is the left join, or sometimes it is called as left outer join. So it returns all the rows from the left table. So whatever the table you have mentioned before, okay, it will be considered as a left table. So it will return all the rows from the left table and only the matching rows from the right table. So in the scenario, if there is no matching row in the right table, it will return the null. So let's see this example. So again, we have the employee ID, employee name, department. And on the right table, we have the employee ID, whether it's a fresher or not, this employee, salary and the country. And if I apply the left join, what it will do, it will retrieve the first all the common elements between the, or common rows between these two tables. So in this scenario, we have 100, 101 and 103, right? These three rows will be common. So it will be retrieved. You see that 100, 101 and 103. And then it will retrieve all the rows from the left table. Okay, whatever the table you have mentioned before, it will return all the rows from the left table. So in this scenario, it is James, then Chris, and then Anna. Okay, these three will also be returned. Okay, and for these three, as there are no values mentioned in on the right table, so it will return the null here, right? It will return the null on the from the right table. So now let's see that in SQL. Or before that, let's go to the same example in the PPT. Then we will implement the same in the SQL Server. Yeah, so this we have seen in case of the inner join. So now what the left join? It is inner join plus the additional rows which are in your left table. So in this scenario, we have already covered 1, 2, 3. Okay, because these three rows are the employee ID are common in your table A and table B. But in your table A, that is your left table, you have also employee ID 4. So it will have one more row, that is the 4, Kevin, the employee name, and then the city, because there is no entry associated to employee ID 4 in the right table. So it will return null. So now let's see that in SQL. Okay, so this time rather than inner join, I will write it as left join, and on this will remain same because I need the common column, so it will be employee ID. So now if I run this one, so I will have how many rows? 6 plus 1, because this Kevin, in the result set I have the 7 rows. So let's execute it. So now if you see here, I will have the 7 rows, and the 7th row will have the entries from the left table and the null from the right table. So now let's see the same example for the superstore data. Okay, so here we have seen that what are the orders returned. So now what I have to do, my requirement is that I want to see all the orders from the left table, that is the orders table, and just want to see that whether that order was returned or not. Whether that order was returned or not. So rather than inner join, I will use the left join here. And if you want to pull any more information, okay, for example, let's say orders dot sales, that how much sales value for that order. Just execute it. So now you see that wherever the entry is null, it means that those orders were not returned. Wherever the entry is yes, it means that these orders were returned. So that's the use of the left join, that it will give you all the rows from the left table. Left table means that whatever the table you use before the left join keyword, and it will just returns the it will returns all the rows from the left table and just the common rows from the right table. Okay, and wherever there is not a common row, it will return the null value. So that's all for this tutorial, and here we have seen that how to use the left join in SQL Server. So thank you for joining this tutorial, and I'll see you in the next one. Thank you. Hello all. So what are the right joins in SQL Server? So right join, also known as the right outer join. So it returns all the rows from the right table and the matching rows from the left table. So it is completely opposite of the left join. Or in the left join, if you change the order of the table, that whatever you are using in the right side, just use that in the left side. Okay, so it will also give you the same result. And as in the left join, if there is no match, null values for the return in this scenario for the left table. So syntax is same more or less. Okay, rather than left, you just need to use the right join, and then on which column you want to perform that join. So it's the example. Okay, you have these two tables, and in the final table, if you want to perform the right join, it will just provide you the result or the values for all the right table. So in this scenario, if you see here, you have the entire list of the right table. Okay, that is your 109, 1010, 11, which is not present in your left table. So it gives you the details here that what's the salary, what's the country, but it will just show the null from the left table. Right, so completely opposite what we have seen in the left join. Okay, right join contains all the values from the right table. Just remember this Venn diagram, and only the common rows from the left table. Okay, and wherever there is no match, it just show the null values. Right, so now let's again go to our example. Okay, so this time we will use the right table, so it will just match it again. It's a row level mapping. Okay, so it will be, this one will be matched again, this one will match to the first row, this one again match to the first row. So you will have 3 rows. So again it's 1J and then Los Angeles, 1J San Diego, 1J Oceanside. Okay, for the very first, for the employee ID 1, then you have the employee ID 2, it will match to this row. So it will be 2 John and then New York City. Then third one will match to the this row, and also third one will match to the same row here. So it will be 3 Ajay Miami, 3 Ajay Orlando. But in this scenario now, because we will cater all the, or we will include all the rows from the right table, so we have one more row, that is the employee ID 6, and then there is no matching values in the left table, so it will just show null, and then the city from the right table. Okay, so now let's see the same example in the SQL Server. So just remember that all the rows from the right table and only the matching row from the left table. Okay, so this one, rather than left join, I will use the right join. Run this query, and you will see that why the employee ID is null here, because we mentioned employee ID to pull from the left table, and there is no employee ID in the left table. So what you can do if you want to pull the employee ID as well, I'll use the e2 dot empid. Because in the right table I have that information. So it's now employee ID 6 and then employee name, because that is not present in my left table, so it will show null, and from which city this employee comes, okay, or which city is assigned to his profile. Okay, so if I go to the Superstore data example, okay, so this time rather than I want to show all the orders, I want to use the right join, where I will get the tables from the rows from the returns table as well as the matching rows from the orders table, and whatever is not present, it will be null. But in this scenario, there will be no null because it is not possible to return something which you have not been ordered, right? So if I run this one, it will give me the same result because here it will all be returned as yes. Okay, so whatever I used in case of the inner join, it will give me the same result in case of right join as well. Right, so that's the use of the right join. It will pull all the rows from the right table and only the matching records from the left table. So that's all for this tutorial, and I'll see you in the next one. Thank you. Hello all. Now see that what is the full outer join or full join. So it returns all the rows from both the tables and combine the result of both the left join and right join. So we have already seen that what is the left join. So left join contains all the rows from the left table and only the matching rows from the right table, and right join contains all the rows from the right table and only the matching rows from the left table. So full outer join is the combination of both left join and right join. It means that it contains all the rows from both the tables, and whenever there is no corresponding record in another table, it inserts the null. So now let's see an example. This is my table 1, this is my table 2, and my full outer join creates a table which is a combination of my table 1 and table 2. So you see that this is my resultant table, and in which I have all the records from my table A and then all the records from your table B. So wherever the matching record is not available in any other table, it will insert the null here. For example, for 109 till 111, we don't have any record on table A, so it insert null here. So same thing, that is the right outer join. Similarly, for the 102, 105 and also for 104, you don't have the record on the right table, that is your left join. So full outer join is the combination of your left join as well as the right join. So now let's see that in SQL Server. So here I have two tables, employee and employee details. In my employee table, I have the record 4 which is not present in my employee details table. Similarly, in my employee details table, I have the employee ID 6 which is not present in my employee table. So if I use the full join or full outer join, I will get the records from both the tables, all the records. So you see here, this one is coming from the, let's use the e1.employee ID as well. So this one, the record number 4 is present in my E1 table or my employee table, and then record number 6 is present in my employee details table. So here in a resultant table, I have all the records from my employee and employee details table. So that's the use of the full outer join, but it is not that much useful. The most useful are your inner join as well as your left join. Right join is just if you change the order of the left join, it will become the right join. So that's all for this tutorial, and I'll see you in the next one. Thank you. Hello all. Let's understand what is a self join. So self join is a special type of join in which table is joined with itself. So if you have a requirement in which you have all the values in a single column and you want to compare those column among itself. Okay. So you want to compare the values from one row to another row within the same column. So in this scenario, you can use the self join. So it allows you to combine rows within a single table based on related values. So what is the syntax for the self join? There is nothing called as self join keyword. You can use it with either type of join. Okay, inner join, left join, right join, anything. Okay, the concept is that you will refer the same table twice. So in this scenario, you refer employees and then you refer employees again, and you give different table aliases. Here we have given E1 and E2. So in my employee table, I have the two fields, that is the employee ID as well as the manager ID. Now one of my employees could be the manager of another employee, right? So in this scenario, I need to join the same table. Let's see that how we can do this in SQL Server. So this is my table in which you see that I have the manager ID as well. So I have the employee ID and then manager ID, which is also part of the employee ID only, right? Because see, the manager of J is Ajay. Okay, that's why manager ID is 3 here. So employee ID and manager ID both refers to the same column here. The manager for John is the 4, that is the Kevin, and so on and so forth. So how we can retrieve the name of the employee as well as the manager name. Okay, so in this scenario, I can use the self join. Employee name because the employee name is also the name of the manager, so I'll use it twice. From employee table but I need to compare it with itself, right? So I need to provide the table alias here. So I will say T1 inner join and I will join it again with itself. Again, I will mention employee table T2. So this one I will get the T1 dot employee name. So this is my name of the employees. So it will be as employee EMP name. This one will be T2 dot as manager name. And now I simply need to join that on T1 dot manager ID equals to T2 dot employee ID. So now run this one. So you see that for the Ajay, the manager is 2, that is the John. So against Ajay, the manager name is John. For J, the manager is 3, that is Ajay. So for J, the manager is Ajay. For Kevin, the manager is Ajay again. So for Kevin, the manager is Ajay. So now the right manager name is showing against each of the employee name. The order has been changed, but doesn't matter, your values are right. If you want to go to the previous order, that is in the first table, just use order by T1 dot employee ID. Okay, so it will bring the right order. So that's all for this tutorial, and here we have seen that how we can use the self join to join the same table. So thank you for joining this tutorial, and I'll see you in the next one. Hello all. In this tutorial, let's understand what is a cross join. So cross join is the only join where you do not need to mention any join condition. So it returns the Cartesian product of both tables, meaning it combines each row from the first table with every row from the second table. So if in the first table you have 5 rows and in the second table again you have the 5 rows, then your final table will have 25 rows because it will be n into n. So in this scenario, 5 into 5 equals to 25. So it does not require any matching condition as I told. So this is the syntax where you just need to mention the cross join keyword and then just mention the name of both the tables. So let's see that in SQL Server. So these are my 2 tables. One is the t-shirt, which shows the color of the t-shirt. Okay, red, green, blue, white, just few sample data. And the other table is the master size. Okay, so against each of the color, I need to mention the small, medium, large. Okay, because you know the red color t-shirt can be of any of the size. Similarly, green, blue, and white. So in this scenario, we can use the cross join. Select star from table 1, that is your t-shirt table. Cross join master size. So how many records we will get? We will get 4 into 3, 12 records. You see here 12 rows because it is if the rows from the first table is joined from each of the row from the second table. So red small, red medium, and red large. Similarly for other colors as well. So it is used to combine all the rows of your first table to all the rows of your second table. So that's all for this tutorial, and here we have seen that how we can use the cross join in SQL Server. So thank you for joining this tutorial, and I'll see you in the next one. Thank you. Hello all. In this tutorial, we will see that what's the order of execution of SQL query. It is one of the most important topics in SQL and very important from the interview perspective. So once you write the query, you should know that behind the scene how your keyword will be executed, in which sequence it will be executed. So the very first one will be executed the from clause. After that you have the join, then where, group by, having, select, distinct, order by, top. So I know that you will not understand by this. So let's see one of the example just to understand that how this query, any query will be executed in SQL. Okay, so this is my employee table which has employee ID, salary and state. And what I have to find, I want to retrieve the top state with the highest number of employees, and we have to find out only those where the employee count will be more than or equal to 2 employees. And also another condition where the salary exceed $5,000. Okay, so now let's see that how the query can be written for that and how the order of execution matters here. So now on the right hand side you see that this is your query. Okay, so now very first thing is that the very first keyword will be from. So from employee. So very first thing it will see that from which table it need to retrieve the columns. So it will be your employee. So this is your very first keyword that will be executed. After that join, in this query we will not have the join, but in SQL we will see the another example with the join as well. After that where, so this will be my second keyword as per this query, where salary is greater than 5,000. So where the salary is not lesser, or where the salary is lesser than 5,000 will be just gone. So these 3 rows will be deleted. Okay, so it will not be shown. After that you have the group by. So this is your third keyword in that. So group by state. So what you will get here, the remaining ones. So it will be Florida, then you have the New Jersey, California, and that's all, because this is just a repetition, the other ones are just the repetition. So we will have Florida, New Jersey, California. After that, having count star is greater than equals to 2. So what it will do, because we know that when you use the group by, then you can use the having. If you want to evaluate any condition in the group by, then you can use having. Having count star is greater than equals to 2. So now what it will do, for the Florida you have 2, for the New Jersey you have 3 rows, and for the California you will have 1 row. So this will be eliminated. So now you will have only 2 rows, Florida and New Jersey. So this is your having is your fourth keyword that will be executed. After that it comes to the select. After that select keyword will be executed. So now it will say select count star, select count star, select state and count star as employee count. So this is the alias here. So now in this scenario I will get the state, that is your state field, and then the number of employees, that is your M count, employee count, and this will be Florida, employee count will be 2, and New Jersey the employee count will be 3. So this we have got till here. After that what will be executed? After that your distinct, which we don't have here, then order by. So order by, because why we need to do order by here? Order by because we want the highest one. So once you do the order by, New Jersey will come on the first and Florida will come into the second. And order by is executed after your select statement. That's why the employee count, the alias, you can mention it over here, because your select has already been executed. If you provide the alias in the where clause, it will not be executed. Okay, because where clause is executed before your select statement, so it will not identify the column alias which you have referred in the select clause, right? And after that, once it is done, then after that your top clause, okay, top will be your, in this scenario it will be your 7th keyword in this query. So now my final count is that, or final table is that, New Jersey 3 and Florida 2. So it will fetch this one, New Jersey equals to 3. So this is my result of this query, right? So now just run this query in the SQL as well. Okay, this is the same table what we have seen. Now just execute this query. So New Jersey 3, what we have seen in our PPT, same output you will get in the SQL Server. So that's the order of execution of any SQL query. In the next tutorial, we will see one more example of the same concept. Okay, then I'll see you in the next tutorial. Thank you. Hello all. So let's see another example of order of execution in SQL statement. So now we have to find out the top two regions based on the number of orders, and we have to also include the regional manager. So first let's see the orders table, as well as we also have the people table. So in the people table you have the regional manager. Just consider that person as a regional manager for each of the regions here. So we have 4 regions and we have the 4 regional managers, and also we have the orders table where we have the records or the transaction for each of the order. So now what we have to do, as our result or the final result is in 2 different tables, so the very first thing is that we have to join the table, right? We have to join the orders and people table on the basis of the common column, and my common column is the region. Okay, so let's do that one. Select star from order. I just give the table alias as O, inner join. My second table is the people, P on O dot region equals to P dot region. So this order should be orders because orders is the name of the table. So now let's run it if it is fine. Okay, so now you see that for each of the region we get the person name as well. Okay, and this region because it is coming from the people table. So this region is coming from the orders table, another region is coming from the people table. So our order of execution is that very first is the from, then your inner join and on. After that you have the where clause. So our where clause will be where segment, because it says that only consider the consumer segment, where segment equals to consumer, right? After that what it says, display the top 2 regions based on the number of orders. So it means that I need to group by the regions. So I will say group by region, and in that I need to find out the number of orders based on the number of orders that exceed 1000. So I need to put the condition in the group by. So group by region having count star. So it means that how many orders we have or how many rows we have is greater than 1000. So now we have used the group by, so I cannot use the star here. I can only use the columns which is part of the group by or the aggregation. So I say count star. Also I need to include the regional manager. So P dot person here, but that should also come into the group by. Here as well I need to use the table alias. Okay, so this should be fine. Okay, so now let's run that one. So this one is count star as number of orders. So now what we have to do, we have to display the top 2. Okay, we have to display the top 2 out of that, right? So I say top 2, but now the problem is that let's execute that. Okay, so right now the order is fine, 1672 1469, but sometimes the order is not right. So in this scenario we can also provide the order by count star, or I can use the number of orders as well. Descending. Now run this. You will see 2 records. Okay, and that is also sorted in the descending order. So now let's do the one round of revision that how the order of execution work. The very first is the from clause. Okay, see that whether the table is available or not, then inner join and on. Okay, with which table it want to establish the relationship here. Okay, after that it eliminates the record using the where clause. Then it will read the group by, then having. After that it will read the select here. If you use the distinct, which we have not used, then after select the distinct will be executed, and then order by executes, and then your last one is the top. Okay, that's why in the order by you can use the alias here. But if you try to use the alias at some other place, okay, it will throw an error. It should only be used after the select statement, because once the select statement will be executed, SQL knows that you have provided the alias to this this column. Okay, so if you try to write the number of orders here, in having, okay, if you try to write it here, it will throw an error because having execute before the select statement. So it says that invalid column name because it won't be able to recognize it. So order of execution in SQL is very important. We must have the good understanding of that how behind the scenes SQL execute any query. Okay, so that's all for this tutorial, and I'll see you in the next one. Thank you. Hello all. In SQL Server, the case statement is a conditional statement that allows you to perform different action or return different values based on a specified conditions. So in other tools, we may have the if, then, else, right? So same thing we have in the SQL. So it is the case statement, and it is used to implement conditional logic within your query. You can use this with the select, update, delete, order by, and with many other statements or conditions. So there are two forms of the case expression. One is the simple case expression, another one is the search case expression. So let's understand one by one each. So a simple case expression compares an expression with a set of predetermined values and returns a result based on a matching condition. So what does it mean? So first understand the syntax. So you have the case, this is the keyword, then you provide the expression here. Okay, it could be your column name, and then you have the when, then. So when and then. So this is the keyword there. With every when you need to mention then. So this is the value, and if this value is true, then what should be the result? Right? So it goes, you can have multiple when and then, and after that you can have the else. So this is optional. If none of these conditions are satisfied, then it will return the else. Okay, whatever you mention the result in the else condition, it will be returned, and all the case should be and with the and keyword, right? So now let's see the example here. So what we want to do here, we want to have one more column, that is the stock status. Okay, and here my expression is the quantity. So quantity is a column. So this value, okay, this value is passed here. So if quantity is 0, then it returns the out of stock. When it is 1, then low stock. When 2, then high medium stock. If none of these conditions are true, then it will return high stock. Okay, and we are using the orders table. So this expression, the expression evaluated once and the resulting value is compared to each when condition. If match is found, the corresponding result is returned. If no match is found, the else result is returned. So else is optional here, right? So whatever the condition we have, it will be evaluated, every step will be evaluated. If none is true, then it will go to else. If you do not mention else, then it will just return the null. So now let's see that in SQL Server. So this is my employee details table, and here I have employee ID, first name, last name, salary and country. So these all columns are retrieved from the employee details table. So now my requirement is that whenever I have the country India, then it will return me +91 the country code. With Australia it is +61, US +1. Okay, I want to have one more column that says the country code for these of the countries. So what we can do here, we can create the case statement or write the simple case statement, and we will pass the country here. So it should start with the keyword case, and then I need to provide the column or expression here. When case country, now I need to write when the value is, okay, when the value is India, then what I want to do, then return me plus 91. Let's copy that one. When it is Australia, then return plus 61. That is the country code of Australia. When USA, then return plus 1. Now it should end with the keyword AND here, and then we need to provide one column name to this or alias as country code from employee details table. Now run this query. Now see here, when we have the India, we have the country code as plus 91, Australia plus 61, US plus 1. So now what is happening? Okay, let's do one thing. Let's change it to India here just to tell you one thing. So it is coming as null. Why? Because for India it has already evaluated here. For India it is already evaluated here. So it will not evaluate India next time. Okay, so very first one which is true, it will just provide the result for that. Okay, that's why it has provided plus 91 for India, and it has not considered this statement at all because India has already been found at a very first statement, right? Null because we have not provided the else condition. We can also do else not found. So that's the use of the simple case statement or simple case expression here. Let's revert it to US. So here what is happening? This expression is evaluated once, and the values, okay, whatever values we have the country is evaluated for each of the when statement here. Okay, for example, this India. So first it will find out the India from this, so it founds one from the very first place. Then it will not evaluate any rest of the statement. In case India is found at the last, let's say 9th or 10th position, if we have that many statements there, then all the statement will be first evaluated, and then it reaches to India statement where we have mentioned the name of the country as India. Then that expression will be evaluated, result will be returned for that, and the remaining statement will not be evaluated. Let's suppose now I have the country here as UK. Okay, so in those scenario, what will happen? All the all these statement will be evaluated. Else, as the country is not mentioned UK in these statement, it will go to the else. It will return not found, and only then it will stop for that particular row. Then it will go to next row and then evaluate or compare it with the this set here. So that's the use of the simple case expression. So that's all for this tutorial, and I'll see you in the next one. Thank you. Hello all. So we have seen that what is the simple case expression. So in this tutorial, we will see that what is the search case expression and how to use that one. So this expression evaluates multiple Boolean conditions and return a result based on the first condition that evaluates to true. So now what happens that the syntax is more or less same, but here you have the case, okay, without the expression or the column name here, and then it's when, then, so the keywords are same, case, when, then, else, and end. Okay, but the way to evaluate that or way to use that is different, because in the previous example, if I go, you see that here we have provided the expression and those value we are passing in the value here, but in the search case expression we do not pass any any condition or any expression here, but what we do, we use the condition in the when clause. Okay, so this is the condition, so either it will returns the true or false. Now depends on my my result, that is whether it's a true or false, I need to show the result. Okay, so for example, case when quantity equals to 0. So this is my column. When quantity is 0, then out of stock. When quantity is 0, between 0 and 5, then low stock. When it is greater than 5 and less than 10, medium. Else if none of these conditions are true, then it will return the high stock. So again, as per as like a simple case expression, this is also order specified and the result corresponding to the first true condition is returned. Okay, so let's suppose my quantity is greater than 0. I just mentioned the same condition in the second and third one. So my result for the second condition will be returned because it will not evaluate the third condition, right? So let's see that in the SQL Server. Okay, so this is my table where I have the employee ID, first name, last name, salary and country, and I want to use my salary column in my case expression. Okay, and I want to write the, I want to just divide that into different buckets. Let's say low salary, medium salary and high salary. So first I'll use the same column here. So one more column, so I'll provide the comma here, case, and then I will not provide any column name here. So our syntax will be when my expression, my salary is greater than equals to 3000, or I will say less than equals to 3000, then low salary, when my salary is greater than 3000 but less than. So in this scenario I will use the AND operator, and salary is less than equals to, let's say 6000, then I'll return medium salary. Else, okay, I can provide one more condition, but I'll provide else high salary. So in this scenario where the salary is more than 6000, then only it will show the high salary. Give the name of the column as salary bracket. Now run this. What happened? Else high salary. Okay, we have not write the AND here because your case statement should be AND with the operator AND or the keyword AND, right? So now see here, when my salary is less than 3000 or less than equals to 3000, then it shows the low salary, which is true in case of these two rows. When my salary is greater than, now it sees the 7000, so it will go to this one, which is not true. Second statement is also not true, then it will go to the else. So else is the high salary. For 5000 it will go to this one, and this condition will be true because the salary is greater than 3000 but less than equals to 6000 because it's in between of that. So it will give me the medium salary. Okay, so in this way it will be evaluated, and as soon as your first condition will be true, it will give you this result. For example, if I have one more condition where I say that when my salary is less than 4000, then test salary. See here, so it has given me only test salary because this condition will not be checked because this one is true for first and second records. Both of these are less than 4000, right? Less than equals to 4000, 3000 less than equals to 4000. So this condition is true. It will not go to any other condition for the same record. So it will come to the third record, okay, where it is 7000, then it will go to the else part. So I hope it is very much clear now. So that's all for this tutorial, and here we have seen that how to use the search case expression in SQL Server. So thank you for joining this tutorial, and I'll see you in the next one. Thank you. Hello all. So now let's see that what are the variables in SQL Server. So if I have a requirement to store some values, then I can use the variables. So variables holds the temporary values and you can perform the calculation or transformation on those values. The important point to know is that the value of the variable or the variable is valid till the scope of the script stored proc that we will see later, or the batch of the SQL statements. So that is the syntax for the to define the variable. So declare, okay, that is the keyword that is used to declare a variable. Then this should be your variable name and what type of data it can store. So that will be your data type. Set, it is just used to assign a value to a variable. Again, this is the variable name which you have defined here. Value, whatever the value you want to assign to this variable. So this is the very basic syntax of the variables declaration. Okay, so now let's see that one of the examples here. So in this example, we have defined the variable that is the name and age. So these are the name of the variable and this is your data type for the name, and for the int is for the age here. And we define here with the help of the set keyword, we assign the values to the variable. So with the name, we assign this value. With the age, we assign just the 30. To display the value of the variable what we have assigned over here, we can use the select, then the name, whatever you will show in the select statement. Name, it's just the variable which we are passing here as person name. So this is the alias, same thing, person age, this is the alias. Okay, so that will be kind of the column name for the select statement here. So now let's see the same example in SQL Server. So if I run this one, you will see that I have the person name, that is this guy. Okay, so whatever the value we have assigned to the at the name variable, okay, that has come here. Similarly, this one, okay, we just cast this as the varchar, okay, because we have to concatenate it with the string here. Okay, so we cannot do that one with the integer, it will throw an error. So I simply concatenate it with the varchar only. Okay, as percentage, so we have provided the percentage as the alias here. So this will be your output. So that is the use of the variable. Now let's see, there is something called as the print statement. Print statement is used to display the message to the messages tab here. Okay, so right now you can see that it is just that how many rows are impacted here. Okay, but if you want to show some message here, okay, that will be used for the troubleshooting purpose as well. So let's see that how we can do that one. So as I mentioned, print statement is used to display a user-defined message or the content of a variable on the screen. It is commonly used for the debugging purpose. So the syntax is very simple. You have to just use the print keyword and then the message, okay, the string, whatever you want to pass it. It could be your string literal and literal enclosed in a single quotes or variable that contains the message to be displayed. Okay, for example, this one where we declare the at the name variable with the data type varchar 50. We provide the value to that name and now we just use the print statement to display that on the screen. Okay, so this time the answer will not be in the result tab but in your messages tab. So let's see the same example. So let's run this query. Now you see that we do not have the result tab, we just have the messages tab and it prints hello John Cena. So the name which is mentioned in the name variable, welcome, this is just the static text here. Today is date, okay, which we convert into again varchar, and it is just to the format, that in which format we want to present that date. Okay, so that is the use of the print statement. So that's all for this tutorial, and here we have seen that how we can define the variable, how to store the values in a variable, and how we can print that in the screen on the screen using the print keyword. So thank you for joining this tutorial and I'll see you in the next one. Thank you. Hello all. Now let's see that what is the use of the if-else statement in SQL Server. So you can use the if-else statement for conditional execution of SQL statements. A particular action performed when the given condition evaluates to true and another action is performed when the given condition evaluates to false. So that is the syntax of the if-else statement. So here you have to provide the keyword if, then the condition what you want to evaluate, the keyword begin and the end. Okay, so all the begin should be and with the and keyword here, and in between you have to write the code which you want to execute if the condition is true. In the same way you can use the else as well. Okay, in the else, if this condition is not true, then it will go to the else block. You can also have the nested if else. Okay, so in this scenario, if this condition is false, then it can go to the else if. Then again, you can have multiple else if. Then in the end, you can mention the else. So if all the conditions will not be true before the else one, then it will come to the else only, right? So let's see one of the example here. So now what happens here, we have declared one variable that is the integer type. We have assigned the one static value to that variable. Now if I say that if my score, that is this variable, is greater than equals to 60, so this is my condition, right? Then it will go to the begin block and then it will print the congratulations, you passed the exam. So this will be printed on screen. If your score is not greater than equals to 60, it means that it will come to the false. It means it will go to the else statement and then it will just print whatever you have mentioned, or it will execute this block, right? So now let's see that in SQL Server. Okay, so this is my code here. Okay, so what I have done, very simple. I declare two variables, both with the integer data type here. I set those variables with the value 10 and 5. Okay, and I just want to compare these value in my if else statement block. So if I say that if my first number, that is 10, is greater than 5, which is true, then it will print number 1 is greater than number 2. So it will not come to the any other condition here. But if my number 1 is lesser than number 2, then it will go to this condition. If both of these numbers are equal, then it will go to the else block. Else it will never come to this block. So now let's execute that one. As I mentioned print here, so it will go to the message step here. Okay, so now my 10 is greater than 5. That's why the print statement, this one will be executed, that number 1 is greater than number 2. Let's say if I say that one as a, or if I change this one as a number 2 as 15, then this condition will not be true. So it will not execute this block, else it will come to the else if here. So now let's execute it. So now see that number 1 is less than number 2, right? If let's say I have both the number have the same value, so it will execute first this block. No, it is not true. It will go to here. Again, it will not true. Then it will come to else. So if I execute that one, number 1 is equal to number 2, right? So that's the use of the if else statement in SQL Server. So that's all for this tutorial, and I'll see you in the next one. Thank you. Hello all. So in this tutorial, we will see that what are the set operators in SQL Server. So set operations allow you to perform operation, that is, you can combine the rows, you can remove the duplicate, you can find a common rows in the different tables, or you can also identify the differences between the data sets or the tables. So the commonly used set operations in SQL Server are union, union all, intersect, and except. For some of the databases, it is also called as minus. So in this tutorial, we will see union and union all. So what is union? The union operator combines the result of two or more select statement into a single result set, and it eliminates the duplicate rows. So for example, you have table 1 and you have table 2, and you want to combine the results for both these tables. So whatever the columns and rows you have in your first table, you want to combine the rows from your second column, second table here. So you can use the union operator to do that job, and it will also eliminate the duplicate rows. So let's see with the example. But before that, let's see the union all as well, because there is just one difference between union and union all. First is that you need to use the operator union all. Okay, but it is similar to the union, but it does not remove the duplicate rows. So it does not eliminate the duplicate rows. It includes all the rows which are duplicate in both the tables. Okay, so that is only the difference between union and union all. Union eliminates the duplicate rows. Union all include the duplicate rows as well. So now let's see that in SQL Server. So in my customer database, I have two tables, that is NJ customers, that is New Jersey customer, and New York customers. So you can consider that this is a chain in the area of New York City. Okay, and they have two stores. Okay, now they want to combine the database for both the stores to a single database, okay, or the single table. So what we can do in this scenario, we can use the union. Okay, so now let's see the data as well. So here are customer ID, customer name and status. Okay, so we want to include only those records where the status equals to active. And we do not want to include the duplicate record because it may happen that same customer has visited different stores, okay, and their data is captured in both the store. For example, this 102 customer ID is present in both these tables, so I don't want to include this customer ID. So what we can do, we can use the union here. Simply I will use the union operator, and I also do not want to show the inactive record. So I will say where status equals to active, and this condition I'll put in both the tables here. Now let's run this one. So now you see that this is my final, or let's run all the queries here. So you see that this is my final data set, okay, or the final result. And here you see that the inactive record, that is John Merchant, is not coming here because it will be filtered as part of my where condition. Also, we have the HINA, okay, 102 customer ID, which is common in both the tables. That will only be included once because union, union eliminate the duplicate records, right? So that's the example for the union. And union all. So union all, same thing, but it includes the duplicate records as well. So if I change it to union all, okay, then you will see the Hina Sharma record 102 customer ID will come twice because it is present in both of your NJ and NY tables. So now let's run it. Now you see here, I have used the union all, and this record Hina Sharma 102 is coming twice because union all include the duplicate rows as well. So that's all for this tutorial, and here we have seen that how to use the set operator union and union all. So thank you for joining this tutorial, and I'll see you in the next one. Thank you. Hello all. So now let's see the other set operators. So the next one is the intersect. So it finds out the intersection between two data sets. Okay, so it returns the common rows between the result of two or more select statement. It only retrieves the rows that exist in all select statement. Okay, so you can have multiple tables here. So the syntax is that select column name after from table, then this is the keyword intersect, and then the other table details here. So it retrieves only the rows that are common between the result set of the select statement. Okay, so it will find out only the common records. The other remaining set operator is the except or minus for some of the databases, but for SQL, it's the SQL Server, it's the except. So the except operator returns the distinct rows from the left select statement that do not exist in the result of the right select statement. So this one is the left, you can consider this one is the left, the first one. Okay, so let's suppose in the first one I have the 4. Okay, I have the 4 records, and in the second one there is one record common. So it will give me the 3 record which is only present in my left or the first data set or the first select statement here. So it retrieves the rows from the first select statement that are not present in the second select statement. So except means that it will only give the distinct ones from the first result set. Okay, so now let's see both of these examples in SQL Server. Okay, so again, I'll use the same tables, that is the New Jersey customers and New York customer. So now I need to find out that which are the common customers, or who all are the common customers between these two tables. So in this scenario, what I'll do, I'll use the intersect operator here. Again, I need to just find out those which are active here. Same thing with the NY customers, only show the record which are active. Just run this. So what should be our answer? It should be customer ID 102 because that is common between these two tables, right? So this is my answer for the intersect. So now let's say if I want to use the except here, I want to find out those customers which are part of the NJ customers or this select statement, but which should not be part of the second select statement, right? So in this scenario, what should be my output? It will be customer ID 100, 100, 101, 103, because 102 is common between these two. 103, not 103 because it is inactive. So it will be 104. So I have 100, 101 and 104. These three records should be my output if I use the except here, because that will provide me all the rows from the first select statement, and which should not be common in the second select statement. I'll use except here or put that in the uppercase. So my result has three records as discussed, right? So that is the use of the except operator in SQL Server. So that's all for this tutorial, and I'll see you in the next one. Thank you. Hello all. What are the views in SQL Server? So views are the virtual tables that are derived from the result of a SQL query. So what does it mean? Virtual table means that view does not store any of the physical data. It just stores the query only. So what is the benefit of it? When you share the view to any of the user, they will not see that what is the underlying query. So it will help you to encapsulate the complex query, and it is very easier to use and maintain, right? So what is the syntax of view? You have to use the keyword create view and then the name of the view as. Okay, so this is just the keyword here, create view as. After that, it is the normal query, whatever you want to, right? You can use the joins, you can use all the, keyword clauses in SQL, and then it will be wrapped in a view. So when you want to share it, you will just share the view name. Okay. And then whenever that view will be executed, it will pull the data from the physical or the base table, depends on the query, what you have used in the view, right? So views are defined using the create view statement, where you specify the query that defines the view structure and data. So these are virtual table, as I mentioned, that it does not store any of the physical data themselves. View allows you to select a specific column, because in the select statement, you can provide the number of column which you want to fetch from the table. Okay, so you do not need to, fetch all the columns. You can just fetch only the columns which is the requirement for you. Query abstraction, because it just abstracts the complexity of the underlying table. Okay, presenting the simplified data to users or application. Security, because you do not share the entire base table, you just share the data or the query on top of the base table. So the data which is only required for that for that user. For example, a user is a manager for the eastern region, so you will share the view that shows the data for the eastern region only. In that scenario, you do not need to provide the access to the entire base table to the user. Reusability, once you create the view, you can reuse it. You can also reuse it in a join condition as well, so you can join multiple views as well. So now let's see that how we can create the view in SQL Server. Okay, so let's use the Superstore database, and then let's see the columns from both the tables. Okay, so now what my requirement is that I want to create a view, or I want to create a query that will just show me the items which were returned. Okay, so that information, the return information, I get it from the return table, and the product information as well as the order details, I get it from the orders table. So first I'll write the query that will only returns the only fetch the orders which were returned. So I'll use both these table, and I will only fetch order ID, and then I'll fetch the customer name, product ID, from the orders table, and I'll join this with return tables. I'll give the table alias as O, and for returns it R. So it will be O dot order ID equals to R dot order ID. So now run this query. What happened? Invalid column name order ID. Okay, because it is present in both the orders and returns tables, so I need to use the table alias O dot order ID. Now it should be fine. Again, there is a problem. What is happening? I think it's a space between that. Yes. Yeah, now it is fine. So it gives me the order ID, those order which were returned. Okay, these are only the orders which were returned by the customer, and what is the name of the customer as well, and which product was returned. So now I have all the information. So I want to create a query, or I want to create a view that encapsulate this query. So what I'll do, I'll write the syntax as create view, that is the keyword. Then normally we start view with the VW and then returned orders. So that is my name of the view. So after that I need to mention as, so this is the view here. So let's create it. Okay, that is successful. So where you can see that. So if I go to my database where I created this view, and then I have something called as views. See here, this has been created. So now what happens that it has this query, right? So now if I want to run the view, or if I want to execute the view, what I'll do, I simply use it as a table. So I'll say select star from the name of my view. So what it will do, it will just run this query. So now still the data is stored on the base table itself, because view is just the virtual table. It will not hold any of the data. So what will happen when you run this query or run this query or execute this view, it will execute this query behind the scenes. So just do that one. Right. So it's the same query. We have the 800 rows. So that's the use of the view, that we encapsulate the query and we can only provide the access to this view. So if you want to provide the access, you can only provide the access to this view only, right? So in the next tutorial, we will see one more example of the view where we can see how we can join the two views depends on the common column. The way we do for the tables, the same way we can do it for the view as well. And also we can see that how we can delete the view. Now let's suppose that I want to add one more column here. Okay, in the view, I want to add one more column, that is the product name. So in this scenario, if I run this query, or if I again try to create the view, it says that it is already exist. So how we can alter the view? How we can alter the view? It means that how we can alter the underlying query, because view is nothing but just a stored query. Always remember that view is nothing but just a saved query. So what we will do, create or alter view. We have the command create or alter view. So in this scenario, if it is already created, it will just update the view. So we have added the product name here. So if I run this query, this time it will be successful. And now let's try to fetch all the columns from this. So now you will have product name as well, right? So now let's suppose I want to join the views. So I'll use another database. and there I have two tables, employee details and departments. Just see all the columns from that. Okay, so here we have the department ID, which is common in both the table. So I want to, in a single table, I want to show the employee ID as well as the first name, last name, and the department name. Okay, or the department ID and the department name. So what I can do, let's do it in a different way. You can directly join it the way we have done in the previous example. Okay, which is the right way as well. Okay, that first create the view, create the query. On top of that, create a view and then use that view. But let's suppose we simply want to fetch few columns from this table and only department ID and department name from the department table. So let's create two views. Okay, so I have these two query that fetches only these columns. Okay, if you want to put any, any other condition, where clause or something, you can do it. Okay, for example, let's say where country equals to USA. Okay, so now I have this first query and this is my second query. So let's create the view. Create view, then name of the view, USA employees. This is my very first view, and then my other view is create view department, and here I fetches only two columns. Okay, there is already columns, so I will say department new. Okay, so now this is my two views and I want to join this on the basis of the department ID. So the way we used to do in normal joins, okay, in normal tables, we can join the tables. Same way we can join the views as well. Let's see how we can do that. And we want employee ID department ID as well as department name. Inner join department table on the column of, so here we will not say the employee details, we will use the view here. You can give some alias for the view as well, because now it will be considered as a virtual table. T1, T2. So T1 dot department ID equals to table2 dot department ID. Now run this one. Okay, so again ambiguous column. So from where I want to fetch it, I would say I want to fetch it from T1. Because this column is present in both table 1 and table 2, means view 1 and view 2. So now I have the employee ID, department, and the department name. Okay, so what we have done, we have joined the view. The way we used to join the table, similarly, you can also join the views as well, right? You can also drop the view, drop view, then the name of the view. Run this. Okay, so now if you try to run this command, it will throw an error because this view has been dropped. Similarly, if you want to drop the view USA employees, same way, you can drop the view there as well. So that's all for this tutorial, and here we have seen that how you can join the views. Similarly, the way you used to join the tables, how you can drop the view and how you can alter the view. So that's all for this tutorial, and I'll see you in the next one. Thank you. Hello all. Subqueries are the nested queries within another query. So it means that you have one outer query and one inner query. First inner query will be executed and their result will be sent to the outer query for further processing. Right? So it is used to return data from a table, and this data will be used in the main query. Main query is the outer query as a condition to further restrict the data to be retrieved. In the outer query, you may have the other where condition to filter the results, or you can use any other clause as well. They are mainly used in the select from where having, but the most important and the most popular use is with the where clause. So subqueries can retrieve a single value or a set of values. So we'll see bunch of examples for the subqueries. This is the syntax. Okay, if we use this with the where clause, then you can use either in operator, exist, or maybe equals to. So this is your inner query where you mention, it is as good as any other query, but the result, whatever it will return, that will be used for the outer query or the main or parent query. Okay, so in this query, in this example, the subquery is enclosed within parentheses. So this one, and it is used as a condition in the where clause. So where we get the value from this, right? So now let's see few of the examples of the subqueries in SQL Server. Okay, so this is my table in which I have the employee ID, employee name, salary, country, department ID. Okay, so what I want to find out the employee name who is having the highest salary. Now, what is the highest salary here? It's a 9,000. So what I want the employee name, that is the first name and last name, where my salary is 9,000, right? So how I will write? First name, last name, from employee details table where salary equals to 9,000. Now run this one. But the problem is that what we have done, we have hard coded here, right? But what actually we have to do? What actually we have to do is we have to get the 9,000 first, or whatever the highest salary from this column, we need to get that one first. So my query will be select max of, I'll use the max function here, max of salary from employee details table. So now what it will give? It will give me the maximum salary from this column, right? So now what I'll do? I have this query which gives me this 9,000 result. So I'll use this query as a inner query. Right? So rather than I put that as a hard-coded value, I will just use the parenthesis, and this one will give you 9,000 here, right? So if I simply execute it, you will see the first name and last name. Okay, so this one is your inner query which just provide you the 9,000, and now this one is that where salary equals to 9,000. So first this will be executed, and then as per the result of this query, this expression will be executed. So same thing we can do for the minimum salary. Okay, so let's execute and now find out the employee name who is having the second, not second highest, that will be our next question, who is having the minimum salary. So rather than max, we will use the min function here. So from this data set, we have the Joy and Tim who is having the minimum salary. Okay, so let's run this. So now you see that Joy and Tim. Okay, Joy and Tim is having the minimum salary here, right? So now other query, okay, where we have to find the second highest salary. Okay, employee name, we have to find who is having the second highest salary. So how we can do that one? So first thing is that how to find the highest salary from this. So the first step is that we will find the highest salary or the maximum salary from this. And then we will compare each of the salary with the maximum salary. Okay, and then find the maximum of that. Okay, let's see step by step. So the very first thing is that I'll find the highest salary, which we have seen in the previous example as well. Select max salary from name of the table. Right, so what it will give me? It will give me 9,000. So now what I'll do, I'll use this as an inner query the way we have done. Okay, but this time I'll compare with each of the salary, and then I'll just find out the salary which is not equals to the maximum salary, right? Which is not equals to this 9,000. So what I'll do, I write another query where I'll find the salary from employee details where salary is not equals to, this is the operator of not equals to, and then I'll use that as an inner query. So now what it will give me, it will compare this. See, this one give me 9,000. Okay, that has been done. And now where salary is not equals to 9,000, so it will give me all the records, all the salary which is not equals to 9,000. So I will have 3,000, these two, 5,000, 7,000, 8,000. I have all these rows. So now run this one. See here, I have two rows of 3,000, these two, then 9,000 will be skipped because that is the equals to condition. Okay, so this one is not equals to. So not equals to means that whatever the rows where the salary is not equals to 9,000, it will return all those rows, right? Previously we have seen this one, right? Equals to with different context where we have to find out the name of an employee who is having the highest salary. So if I just use this one, then it will give me 9,000 because that's the equals to operator. If I say not equals to, it means that it will give me all the rows where the salary is not equals to 9,000, and here we select the salary only. But now the thing is that we have to find out the second highest. So out of this, okay, highest is 9,000. So our second highest is 8,000, right? And 8,000 is the max salary in this. So whatever the result you have, okay, if you find out the max of that, then it will be your second highest, right? So I just put the function max salary here. Run this, so it will give me 8,000. Perfect. So now what I'll do, I will have one more query, one more parent query or the outer query that will take the result of 8,000 and I'll compare this in a where clause. So I put select first name, comma last name, from employee details where salary equals to, this time we will use equals to, right? Because where the salary equals to 8,000. Just close it. So now what we are doing here, this is the subquery within subquery, right? This one is your this subquery will be executed at the very first level, then this will be executed, and the result of that will be compare with this query, right? So now run this. So you have the George Smith who is having 8,000 salary, that is the second highest. So we have shown the name of the employee who is having the second highest salary, and we have done this using the subqueries, right? So that's all for this tutorial, and I'll see you in the next one. Thank you. Hello all. Let's see another example of subqueries. And what we have to do here, we have to retrieve the names of employees from countries where the employee count is 2 or less. So what does it mean? So we have to first find out the countries where the employee count is lesser than or equals to 2. So how we can do that one? So first concentrate on this part only. So first part is that we have to find out the countries where the employee count is 2 or less. Okay, so how to do that one? So in this one, you see here in India we have the 2 employees, right? Employee ID 1000 and employee ID 1005. So our output should be something India and then number of employees 2. And Australia it is only 1. Yeah, so we need Australia as well. 1 employee. USA we have 1, 2, 3 employees, so it will not be in our output. And then Canada is having 1 employee. So our output is something like that, right? Our output should be something like that. So now let's try to write the query here. So we have to find out the country. So I will say select country from table name. Now what we can do, how we can do that one? Okay, we know that we can use the group by here. Group by is used to just group these, these countries depends on whatever the column you mentioned the group by. So I will say group by country. So it will just create the groups of countries. So now let's run this one. So now we have the group Australia, Canada, India, USA, right? But my requirement is that I just need to find out the employees or I have to find out the countries where the employee count is 2 or lesser. So how we can use the condition there? So with the group by we can use the having clause. Having count star is greater less than equals to 2. So it will just see that okay first run this thing. I'll run this one only. So it says that Australia 1, Canada 1, India 2, USA 3. Now having count. So whatever the result you have here, okay, I just mentioned that I just want those groups, okay, because whenever you use the group by, you can use the having with that if you want to restrict or filter the group by result. So I'll say that having count star, it means that whatever the values you have against each of the group is lesser than equals to 2. Give me those country only. So it will just remove the USA from there because it had 3 employees, right? So first part is done. So now what I have to do, retrieve the name of employees from countries where the employee count is. So this one is done. So I just now need to get the names of the employees. So I cannot do anything here because it's a rule that whatever the column you mention with the group by clause, you can use only that within the select clause here. And the other one is the aggregation, but you cannot use other one like first name, last name, or any other column which you have not mentioned in the group by clause. So what we can do, we can use this as a inner query. So I'll write the outer query. First name, last name from employee details where my country. Now I'll not use the equals to here because equals to means that I compare with only one result, but it is having 3 result, right? So I say country in, and this will be my subquery. So what will happen? Okay, it will give me the country and count, but I do not want count. And if you use the count here, it will not run because it expects only a single value from here. Single means that single column value from here. Okay, in that column, you can have multiple values like we have Australia, Canada, India. So I'll remove this guy. So now this will give me Australia, Canada, India, and then I will say give me the first name, last name, where country in. In means that it can have multiple values the way it is having right now. So execute the entire query. So now you see that I have the Joy who is from India. Okay. Tim, again he is from Australia. Okay. Amit, he is from India, and then George, he is from Canada. So it has given me the first and last name of only those employees where the employee count or where the countries where the employee count is 2 or fewer. Okay, two or lesser. I hope you understood this example, and here we have used the subquery because we have to retrieve the first name and last name as well. If my requirement is that I need to show those country where the employee count is less than equals to 2, I'm done with this query, right? But I also need to show the first and last name of all those employees who are working on those countries or who are residing on those countries, right? So that's all for this tutorial, and I'll see you in the next one. Thank you. Hello all, let's see the another example of subquery, and here we have to find out the highest salary for each country and includes the name of employees who earned that salary. So in this scenario, for the USA we must have the names of James Piper, for India we must have the name of the Amit Tandon, for Canada it will be George, and for Australia it's Tim because there is only one entry from Australia. So I will have these 4 names in my final result. So now let's see that one, how to do this. So now let's find out the maximum salary. From employee details. So if I just write this one, it will give me only 9,000, which we know, but I have to find out for each of the countries. So I will simply say group by country. Okay, so I have these, maximum salary for each of the country, and now our approach is okay, or what the approach we will think of is that we can use this as inner query, and we can write it something like select first name from table name where salary in, because it has multiple values. Okay, so if you are thinking that this is your query, it is not. Okay, now run it and let's see what's the problem here is. Let me include country as well here, country and salary. Okay, so if I run this query, what will happen? We have Joy, which the entry should not be here because this one has salary 3,000, but this guy Amit has the salary of 5,000. So Amit Tandon should be our answer from India. For USA, it should be 9,000, not with this one Roy. Okay, why it is happening? Because we do not have the unique salary here. If you see, we have 5,000 from USA and India, 3,000 from India and Australia. Okay, so in the scenarios, because we do not have the unique salary, so what we have to do, it will not work because it will give you all the employees where the matching salary is this. Okay, so it is not the right approach. So what we have to do finally, let's comment this one. So first I need to find out the max salary as well as the country. Okay, so let's use this one only. So these are the country wise maximum salary. So if I consider this as I'll say this as max salary. Okay, so if I consider this table as an inner table, okay, or the temporary table itself, and join this with my employee details table with the two condition where country equals to this one and salary equals to maximum salary, right? So now what I meant here, I'll use the first table as my employee details. I'll join this with this one. Okay, consider this as a temporary table. So I will say select these all columns from employee details. Now I'll write join, and that will be my inner query, or that will be my, yeah, that is my inner query that I'm using as a temporary table. As give some alias, maybe T2, and this one as T1. So if I run this one, okay, so there is some problem. Okay, country is present in both, so I'll say T1 dot country. If I run this, now it's a problem as T2. Okay, because we have not mentioned the on condition, right? On T1 dot country equals to T2 dot country, and okay, both of the conditions should be true. T1 dot salary must be equals to T2 dot max of the salary. Now run this. Now run this command. Now I will have 4 records. That is the right answer. If you see from here, for India, I have the 3000, 5000. So this is Amit Tandon. Okay, so that is retrieved from India. James Piper has the 9000 salary. That is the highest salary. From US, for Canada, it's a single row. So whatever it is mentioned, for Australia as well, it is a single row. So that is my right answer. So what we have done, we have used the subquery and then created the table. Okay, created the table. Join this table with our original or the parent table, right, on the basis of the two condition, and means that both of the conditions should be true. First is that the country should be matching. Okay, so with the inner query, let me write it over here. With the inner query, I get Australia, Canada, India, US. Now what I have done, and the salary as well. Simply I put the inner join. I just put the inner join or join. If you mention it is just the default one is the inner. So doesn't matter if you use the word inner or not. So now it just join it on the basis of the country and the maximum salary. Okay, so these two columns, that is the country and salary, will be joined from the max salary and country, and whatever the result, it will be our final and the right answer. So that's all for this tutorial, and here we have seen that another use case of the subquery. So thank you for joining this tutorial, and I'll see you in the next one. Thank you. Hello all. So in this example, we have to find out the employee names who earns more than the average salary of all the employees. But the catch is that we need to show additional column that shows whether they earn more salary or not. So it means that we need to list on all the employees, but we need one additional column whether that employee earns more than the average salary or not. But let's say my requirement is only to display the employee who earns more than the average salary. Then it will be simple, right? I just use the subquery and find out the average salary. So right now, let's do that one. Okay, so that will be my average salary 5714, and now I'll use that in the inner query, and I will in the outer query I just mention the columns whatever I want to retrieve. Where salary is greater than whatever the result of your subquery. Alright, so just run that one. So these are the three guys. Okay, that is James Piper. This one earns 9,000 and Peter as George, because my average salary is 5714. Okay, so these three employees earns more than the average salary. But my requirement is that I want to list on all the employees. Same here. Okay, 7 in my result set. I will have 7 employees, and I need one more column that says that whether that employees earns more than the average salary or not. So in this scenario, I need to use the case statement. So I will say first name, last name. Yes, that I want. Let's say I want salary as well. And then I want new column. So I say case when my salary is greater than this guy, the inner query. Salary is greater than average salary. So if my salary is, let's put that in a single line for the readability. When my salary is greater than this average salary, then give me above average salary. Else give me below average salary, and every case statement and with the end clause. Okay, where condition I don't need to put it here because I want all the records. So I do not want the where condition. So now what is happening here? I'll find the first name, last name, salary. Okay. But anyways, the very first query which will be executed is the inner query. Okay, and this one give me the average salary, which is 5714. So for all the employees, I will have one more column which says that depends on my salary. Okay, if my salary is greater than 5714, because this one will be executed first, then it will tell the above average salary. If not, then it will tell the below average salary. So just run this command. So now you see that I have the 7 rows, and if my salary is lesser than 5714, I get below average salary, else I get the above average salary, right? So I use the subquery in the select statement to compare it with my original salary, and depends on the result, it has provided me the new column. Let's give the alias. It give me the new column category, and just it lists down the values depends on my salary. So that's all for this tutorial, and here we have seen that how we can use the subquery to find out or to add the new column in a table. So thank you for joining this tutorial, and I'll see you in the next one. Thank you. Hello all. So I need to find out the average sales across all the regions. So first let's see the data set. Okay, so in my orders table, I have these columns, and from these I am only interested in the regions as well as in the sales. So I will use the region and sales column here. Okay, so now I need to find out the average sales across all regions. So how to find the average? If you think, okay, how to find the average first. So what is the average? Let's suppose I have these numbers. What will be the average of it? So how it will be calculated? First I need to plus that. Okay, so it will be 950. The sum of all these number is 950, right? Now it will be divided by the number of elements here. So 950 divided by 4 here. In this scenario it will be 4. So what will be my average? It's 237.5, right? So the very first step is that I need to total that. I need to total all the numbers what I am having. Okay, and that is also in our scenario, it will be also region wise, right? So here I have the multiple rows. I have 9994 rows because these many rows I have in my database. So very first thing is that I need to sum that one. So let's do that. Select region and then sum of sales, because I need to total it for each region, right, across all the regions. So first I need to total that from not employee, it's orders table, group by, because I need it for each of the region. So group by region. So that will be my query, and it should return 4 rows only because I will have 4 regions. And then for each of the region, all the sales will be summed up. So now just run this query. So I will have 4 values. I will have 4 values. Just it is in the decimal places. So maybe let's change it to the integer. So I will use the function cast as int and give the name as alias here. Total sales. So now this is my query. So now I got the table where it has the total sales for each of the region. I just need to take the average of it. So I can use the average function and this table. So this is finally a table, right? This table I'll pass it in the from. Okay, so the entire this query which gives me this table, okay, that will be my from this table. Okay, so I will use it in from. So that will be my inner query, and you can use the subquery or this inner query in the from clause. So I'll say select average. Now average for what? Average for this, because that has these value, right? I just need to take the average of it. Average of this column as average sales from. Now this will be my table here. And what will be the name of this table? I need to provide the alias here. So as maybe inner table, right? So this one is just the table which is passing the, we are passing the entire table in the from clause, and it takes this one total sales from inner table and then just calculate the average of total sales here. So now if you run it, so this will be the, if you average all those 4 values, then this will be your total average sales across all the regions, right? So here we have used the subqueries, okay, outer query and inner query. So outer query gets the result from the inner query. You can use the inner query in the where clause, in the having, in the select, as well as from the in the from as well. So here we have seen the example how to use the inner query in the from clause, right? So that's all for this tutorial. Thank you. Hello all. Let's understand what is the CTE. So the full form of CTE is common table expression. It is a temporary named result set or a temporary table. It is not exactly the temporary table, but it stores the result till the time this query is being executed. So a CTE or the common table expression must be followed by a single select, insert, update or delete statement that reference some or all the columns of the CTE. So it provides a query block and it can be used multiple times within a larger query. So it starts with the with clause. That's why it is also known as with clause. So start with the keyword with, then the name of your CTE. And here you can provide the columns. It is same whatever you are referring in your CTE query definition. It is optional. Okay, you can just skip that as well, as it is the keyword here. Then you mention your query definition with the where, join, whatever you want to do, and then we refer it. Okay, this is called as the follow-up query, subsequent query, or the uh, main query. Okay, here we refer the columns from your CTE, and also the name is the CTE underscore name. Okay, because this is the temporary data set which will be valid till the time of the execution of this query, right? So now let's see some of the benefits of that. First is the usage, because you can refer the same CTE query multiple times within your large query. One of the powerful use cases of CTE is handling the recursive queries. Scoping: CTE have a local scope, meaning they are only visible within the query where they are defined. They do not persist beyond the execution of the query. CTE also helpful for the readability of your code as well as the maintainability, because you define the all the query and the steps in the single query block, and after that we will refer that. You can do the same stuff using the subqueries as well, but that is clumsy and not that much readable. So readability is one of the advantages of the CTE, and also it helps in the performance if you want to refer the same query multiple times. Okay, so in those scenario, you do not need to write the same subquery multiple times, rather than you can refer the same CTE. So now let's see that how we can define the CTE in SQL Server. Now let's suppose from the employee details table, I want to write a CTE that refers the employee details table, and I want to show the first name, last name for all the employees along with the salary who are earning more than $3,000 here. So my query will be select first name, comma last name from employee details where salary is greater than 3,000. Now I want to achieve the same using the CTE. So now what we will do, we will write this query definition within your CTE scope. So it will start from the with name of the CTE, EMP details. Now you can either mention the columns or you can skip that one. That is completely optional. So you will write as and then it will be followed with the select, insert, update or delete statement. So I'll say select, same column I select here, from I mention CTE employee details, whatever the name of my CTE. Okay, so what happen if this is intended to a command, you need to explicitly terminate the previous statement with a semicolon. Okay, so because of this one, it was having a problem. Execute it. So now you see that I have the first name, last name where the salary is greater than 3,000, right? I can also, now let's suppose I want to also find the country. It will throw an error because country is not part of your CTE. So that's why it is saying the invalid column country. Now I can only refer the columns which are part of my CTE here, right? And also I told that the very first statement, okay, the very first statement should be select, insert, update or delete where it refers the CTE. Okay, where it refers the CTE. But now let's suppose I mention something called select star from EMP details. Okay, something. And then after that I have the CTE. So now if I try to run this, it will throw an error, invalid object name CTE EMP detail here, because it does not find out that in the scope of the query execution. That's why our very first statement after the definition of the CTE is the select statement, insert, update or delete statement which refers the CTE. Else it will be discarded. It will be lost here. So now I need to remove this. Okay, so these are the employee who earns more than $3,000 of salary. So that is the very basic example of the CTE Also, whatever the columns you have mentioned over here, you can also refer it here. And this is the good practice from the readability perspective. Okay, so now if I run this one, so now it's a first name, last name. So the order should be same. Okay, whatever you are referring in this bracket or in this parenthesis, that should be same what you have mentioned in the query definition. Okay, and then you will refer these ones only in your query. But these are optional as we have seen. So that's all for this tutorial, and here we have seen very basic example how we can use the CTE. But now if you want to refer the CTE into the different, this same one into the different queries, you can do it. For example, you want to do insert or something here, you can refer this. So that's all for this tutorial, and I'll see you in the next one. Thank you. Hello all. So here we have to identify the regions where the sales are higher than the average sales across all regions. So if we want to further drill down on this question, then first we have to find out the total sales. Okay, total sales for each region. Okay, and then we have to find out the average sales across all regions. So now let's do that one. So first see the data set. Okay, so here we have the region and then we have the sales. So we just need to consider these two columns only. So I say region and sales. Okay, so now what I have to find? I have to find out the sales for all the regions. So how we can do that? If I need to find out the sales for each of the region, then I need to group that with the region here. Now I need to, because see, I will get the sales here, but I also need to get the total sales. So it will be a sum of sales. Give the alias as total sales. Okay, first part is done, but we get the multiple decimal places. Just cast that to the integer, so that will be easy to read. Okay, perfect. So now we get the total sales for each of the region. Now if I need to find the average of this, so how we can do that? If we can use that as a subquery. Okay, so first we will see the approach using the subquery, and then we will see the same example with the CTE or the with clause. Okay, so that is my very first query, and then I have to find out the average of this. Okay, average of this. So it will be somewhere 500,000 something. Okay, so what it will be? I'll use this query as the internal query, and then I'll take the average of total sales. Select average of this column as average underscore sales from, and this is my entire subquery in my from clause. See, from clause expect the table. Okay, so this is my table. This one is read it as a table, but we have to provide the table name as well, right? This is the this is the physical, we have to provide the table name. So what we will do, we will simply provide the alias as, we can say, average sale. Okay, so now I have these, this is my average sales and this is my total sales. So now what I need to do, I need to
join that or compare it with each of the sales. Okay, for each of the region sales, I want to compare it with that, and I need to find that wherever the sales is more than the average sale. So this equation give me the average sale, and then I just need to find out the regions where sales are more than the average sales. So it is our average sale is 57 something. So we have the east and west where the average sales is, or the total sales is more than the average sales. All right. So what we can do, we can join these tables. Okay, right now we are just using the subquery to solve this issue. So I say select, we have only two columns, so I will say select star from, this is my very first table, right? This is my very first table. Give the alias as T1. Now it will be joined. See, our join syntax is select star or whatever the column you want to put from table 1, join, then table 2. Here I have need to provide the table 2. What will be my table 2? This is my table 2. It will give me just the sales value, average sales. So it will be my table 2, and then provide the alias to this table. So it will be as T2. Right? So this is because with from you have the, you have the entire table. So this is the very first one, then it joins to the second one, and then here we provide the alias as T2 on which column we are joining. On, we have total sales here. So T1 dot total sales is greater than T2 dot average sales. So now run this query. So we have the east and west where the total sales is this, which are greater than the average sales. So if you read this, then it is bit confusing because there are so many, there are few outer queries, few inner queries, and then you have the join clause. Okay, so it is not readable because we are using the subqueries here. Now, if you want to do that with the with clause, that will be very easy to read, because this is the ideal scenario where you can use the with clause because you have the same query repeated multiple times. Okay, so now let's write the with clause on this. With, then you have to provide the name of the city. So first is the total sales as, so this will be my very first query. Here I need to provide the query definition. So this is my very first query. Now I can provide the second query as well, or second with clause as well. So I do not need to provide with and as. Okay, I just need to provide the name of the city here, average sales. So it will be, this is my query for the average sales. But now what is happening? What is happening here? We are using the same query, right? We are using the precisely same query, and our with clause execute from top to bottom. So till the time it reaches to this statement, it knows that we have something called as this query has already been executed, right? So rather than we will provide this entire query, we just use this with clause here, and we will not use this subquery. So that's it. Now we have to use that in our main query. So I will say select from total sales inner join, or you can use join, it's same. I'll use this another city or the with clause, and here I will use total sales TS, average sales AS. So I just provide the alias here. AS is the keyword, so I will say AG average or AVG Okay, so here I will use TS dot region, TS dot total sales, average sale dot average sales on your TS dot total sales is greater than average sale dot average sales. So now just execute that one. Let's see the result. See, our result is precisely same, but the way of representing it or the way of creating this is completely different. Now it is very much in a readable format, and it is the performance will also be fast because we will not using the same query multiple times, because when you use the subquery it is bit difficult to read that how it is working. We have the multiple subqueries in that, but here you see that it is very much clean. This one is our very first CTE. Okay, that will give us the sales for each of the region. This will give us the average sales. This is our second CTE, and it should be followed by either select, insert, update, or delete command. So it is the select statement here, and then we just find out the whatever the columns we want from CTE total sales. This one, okay, because it gives me all inner join with the average sales, and then where my total sales is greater than the average sales, just list down those columns or those rows where the average sales is lesser than the total sales for those regions. Another thing what you can do, because this is optional, but you can just provide the columns here itself and then refer those columns. Names need not to be same. Okay, here we are using the same name, but you can use different name as well, and those name you need to refer it in your main query. For example, I just mentioned here is small r, I mean region 1. Let's do it region 1. Then it will be, it will not be recognized. Change it to the region 1. Right. So this is a good practice to provide the names of your columns in the parentheses and then use that one. Same thing, no changes, just the representation is different and more readable. So here we have seen that how to solve this problem using the subqueries and how to use the CTE. CTE is the with clause, and why we should use with clause over subqueries in the scenarios like this, which will optimize your performance as well as the increase the readability. So thank you for joining this tutorial. Thank you. Hello all. Let us understand that what is the stored procedure. So it is one of the most important topics in SQL. So in SQL Server, a stored procedure is a named collection of SQL statement and procedural logic that is stored in the database. So why it was required? So for that we need to understand that how SQL Server work. So SQL Server is based on the client server technology. So a number of clients send queries to the central server. After receiving the query, the server parses the query and then processes the request. Since the query passes from the client to the server through the network, it adds to the network traffic. Therefore, an increase in the number of queries from the client leads to the network congestion and increased load to the server. A stored procedure is a solution to this problem. And how? Because it is a precompiled object stored in the database. So a stored proc is a collection of SQL statements that is stored under one name and executed as a single unit. Okay, so when I say the single unit, it means that it will improve the performance. So these are the few of the advantages of the stored proc. The precompiled nature of the stored proc, because whenever you create the stored procedure, it is stored in your database. That I'll show you where it will be stored. So it is the precompiled one. So it improves the query execution time and reduces the network traffic by reducing the amount of data sent to the database server. It is also helpful for the reusability perspective, because once created you can call it multiple times from the multiple application, so it will enhance the reusability of the code. Security: stored proc can be used to control the access, and you can provide the access to the to directly to the stored procedure rather than provide the access to the underlying database tables. This is the syntax to create the stored proc. So it will start with the statement create procedure, then the name of the procedure, and these are the input parameters. So these are not mandatory. If required, you can pass the parameters here. So this is the parameter name and then the data type. It will be followed by the keyword as and begin. So all your SQL code will be between the keyword begin and end here. Here you can have the bunch of SQL statements. If you want to get the value from the stored proc, you can mention that as part of the output parameters. So you can have the input parameter here, which is being passed from the execution application or the application which execute your stored proc, and the output parameter is the return value from the stored proc. You can also do the entire transaction management if needed from the stored proc itself. That is your begin transaction, end transaction, and also the error handling here. So how to check the whether the procedure is already present in the database? For that you can use the command sp_help text. So what will happen once you execute that one, and it should be followed with the procedure name. This will display the text of the procedure only if the procedure is present in the database and is not encrypted. And this text will be identical to the one that you had written to create the procedure. That I'll show you. And how to execute the procedure. Either you can simply write the procedure name, or you can write the execute or exec followed by the procedure name. So these are the way to execute the procedure. So if your procedure also accept the input parameter, then you have to pass the parameter from this call itself. So now let's see that in SQL Server how we can create the very simple procedure. So now let's suppose from the Superstore database, I need to find out the number of distinct order and I need to print that information. So I have these order IDs, so I need to find out the distinct order ID so that I know that how many distinct orders have been placed. And then I need to print that one on my screen. So how to do that one? Using the stored proc. So we need to write the procedure create procedure and then the name of the procedure. So normally I start with the USP. U stands for the user defined procedure. SP is the stored proc. Underscore get orders count. Now it should be, I am not passing the any parameter here. It should start with the as begin and it will be end with the end keyword. And here I need to pass the my code here. Okay, whatever the logic I need to put, I will put between the begin and end here. So I say that I declare one variable at the rate. So my variable should always start with the at the rate symbol, orders count, and it will be integer. Then I will select the distinct order and pass that value to the orders count variable. Okay, so now I need to print that variable on the screen. So I say print the number of unique orders I need to convert the variable to the varchar. because it's the integer and I cannot concatenate the integer with the string here. Now run this one. Okay, command completed successfully. So what we have done, we have created the stored proc. So it has been compiled and it has been stored in the database itself. So now where I will find that one. So whatever the stored procedures we have created, it will be listed down under the stored procedure here. Okay, so now how to execute that one? So I told you that you can simply use the name of the proc to execute this. You can see that the number of unique orders are 5009, or you can simply use the keyword execute. Again the same answer, or only the exec. So either you can use the name of the stored proc with the keyword execute or with only the keyword exec. Now let's say if I need to make any changes in this stored proc, so how to do that one? So let's suppose I want to change this message here. Rather than the number of unique orders, I want to say that the number of distinct order. So if I made this change, then if I execute the procedure again, it will throw an error that it has already been created. So what I have to do, I just need to alter this procedure. So rather than the create, I will use the command alter here. So now if I run this one, it will be executed. And now if I execute the stored proc, you will see that now the message has been changed because we altered the procedure. So now you see that we can reuse it because it has stored in the database here, and it is also already the pre-compiled one. Okay, so we can reuse it. We can simply execute the stored proc from the application and get the output. So the last part is that how we can, how we can drop the stored proc. But before that, we have not seen that how to check whether the stored proc is available with this name or not. So for that, we can use the command sp_help text here and then provide the name of the stored proc. Simply run this one. So now it will give you the text here. Okay, whatever the you mention the code within the stored proc, it will show that code here, right? With the help of the sp_help text command here. So now how to drop the stored proc? You can use the drop procedure and then the name of the proc here. Simply run this command here. So command completed successfully. So if you run this, now if you run this sp_help text, it will throw an error here. So it says that it does not exist in the database Superstore DB. So whatever the database you have selected here, so it will check whether this stored proc is available in this database or not. Okay, so that's all. And here we have seen that how to create the simple stored proc, how to alter that one, how to find out whether the procedure is available in a database, how to drop the procedure. So thank you for joining this tutorial and I'll see you in the next one. Thank you. Hello all. So now let's see that how to use the input parameters in the stored proc. So this is our orders table and I want to fetch few of the data depends on my few column values, maybe category equals to any value from that, as well as region could be again any region. Okay, so these two value I'll pass while executing the stored proc. So these are the two input parameters that will be received by the stored proc. So now let's see that how we can do that one. So very first thing is that we have to create the procedure with the syntax create procedure, name of the proc, okay, so that will be my name of the procedure, get orders details. Now I need to provide the input parameters. So previously we have seen that as begin and then all the code will be written between the begin and the end clause here. But before as we need to provide the input parameter. So I'll accept the category from the user. So my name of the variable as well as the data type. So it will be varchar 50, comma, second category will be my region, or second parameter will be my region. So it will be region varchar. Let's put 10 here because I know that the spelling of it is not more than 10 here. Okay, so these are my two input parameter. This is my keyword as begin, and then I need to write the code here which will accept the input parameter and returns the result here. Okay, so I will say select few of the columns from this. Where my category equals to the input parameter which is being passed, and my region equals to @region here, and I'll retrieve few of the columns. So I will say I want order ID, I want order date, also I want the customer ID, just any column you want to fetch. Also I want the category and region just to verify if my output is right. Okay, so that is my stored proc. Okay, let's run that one. Okay, it's successful, and then let's execute that. Write the keyword execute, or you can directly just write the name of the stored proc and then pass the parameter. So you have to pass the parameter. If you run this one, it will throw an error. It will throw an error that the parameter was not supplied. So you can mention the parameter. Let's say category will be my furniture, and my region is west. So it will show me all these details from the order tables where my category equals to furniture and region equals to west. So now execute this one. So now you see that the category for all these rows will be furniture and the region is west, because these two values we have supplied from the execution of the stored proc. You can also do in a different way. For example, you want to first send west and then furniture. Okay, so in this scenario you need to pass the name as well, or you need to mention the name as well. So I say that it will be @region equals to west, comma, @category equals to furniture. Right, so now execute this one, you will see the same result. Right, so this is the way you can also mention it, because let's suppose your procedure accept multiple parameter. Okay, so it may be problematic or the confusing if you just provide the parameter as a comma separated. Okay, because there are number of parameters you have to provide. So in this scenario you can directly use the name of the parameter as well. Another thing, okay, let's say you do not mention this. Execute, it will throw an error because it also expects the region. So you can provide the default value. So maybe you provide the default value as east here, and now you need to again run this procedure or execute it. But the problem is that SQL already found this procedure in the database, so it will throw an error. So what you can do, you can write create or alter. So in the scenario, if it is already created, then it will be altered. Execute this one. Now it is successful. And now if you execute this, okay, execute this procedure, it will not throw an error. See, now region has taken as east. Why? Because we have provided east as the default value here. And if you want to provide the west here or south, if you provide that one, it will again throw an error, because if you pass one of the parameter in this form where the name of the parameter equals the value, okay, so in this scenario it will throw an error because they expect the same way for the other parameters as well. See, it says that must pass parameter number 2 and subsequent parameters name equals to value. So here we will do @region equals to south, right? So now we have provided the value of region as south. That's why it has not considered this default value. So this is the way you can use the input parameters in the procedure. So in the next tutorial, we will see that how we can use the output parameter as well. So thank you for joining this tutorial, and I'll see you in the next one. Thank you. Hello all. So let's enhance this example to get the output from the stored proc. So for that, we can use the output parameter. So these two, what we have seen here, are the input parameters. And if I want to use the output parameter, for example, I want to send what's the count of the order. So here it's a 332 rows, right? So these are 332 rows. I want to send the 332 number to the application which is calling the stored proc. So I will say order count integer, and then for the output parameter, I just need to mention the output here. So this will be my output parameter. So now what I'll do, I'll just update the code of the stored proc. I will say select, and then in the order count, I will store the value equals to count star. So it will just give me all the order number. Okay, so total number of the orders which will be returned as part of the condition which I am providing here from orders, where I'll use the same condition. Okay, so that is my modified stored proc, and here I am using the output parameter. So whatever the order count value will be, from here it will be returned to the application which is calling the stored proc. So here we have to do some changes. Okay, first run this stored proc. Okay, command completed successfully. So now I need to mention the output parameter as well, because right now if I execute that, it will throw an error because it expects the order count parameter as well, because here it is. So what we will do, we will we will just receive this value into another variable. So I say declare new variable count and integer. So what it will do, it will receive the value which will be passed from the order count. So I mentioned as per my nomenclature, first I need to mention the input parameter values or the name. So I say order count equals to this value. So it means that in the count you will get the order count value. So let's print that one. Just convert this because it is the integer. And now run this code. So now you see that we have 332 rows, and print for the print, you know that we need to go to the messages tab. Just go here, you will see that. So what we missed, we have not put the output here because this is the output parameter. So for the output, we need to explicitly mention the word output. So now if we try to run this one and go to the messages tab, now you see that the total number of orders are 332. Similarly, what we have seen previously, if I omit these names, then I do not need to provide the name of the output parameter as well. So simply with the comma separated, but I need to mention the output along with the output parameter Okay, because it will tell that which one will be returned from the stored proc. Okay, what value will be returned, or the value will be returned in which parameter. Okay, so output need to be mentioned with the output parameter. Okay, so now if I execute this one, you will see that I have all the details and messages. You will find that the value is being written from the stored proc to the output parameter. Okay, so this one is furniture is for the category, for region it's south, and for count it's the order count which is being populated from this statement, right? So there is another way where we can use the return keyword, and return keyword is used to return values from a stored proc. So it allows the stored proc to return an integer value to the invoker. And if a value is not specified, then the stored proc returns a default value which is 0 or 1, depending on the successful execution. If it is a successful execution, then stored proc returns the 0, else it will return the any other value. Okay, so now let's see that how we can use the return keyword in the same example. Because as I mentioned that if there is only one output parameter, okay, so you can simply omit this one and you can use the return keyword to return the that value, and it will be accepted in the execute statement here. So now let's see how we can do that one. So first thing, I will just comment out this this line. Okay, and let's move this one below it because I'm going to return something. So as soon as SQL knows that or see the return keyword, it will return from that statement itself. So this will not be executed. So this guy I need to first declare it, because now I'm not passing it from the invoker. Okay, so what we have done till now, we have just removed this line. Okay, this comma should be gone. Okay, so now as begin, and this one will provide you the orders where the category equals to the input parameter and region is also equals to the input parameter. Okay, I want to know that how many records are returned, and this I need to send it to my invoker. So rather than I use output parameter, I will simply say return keyword, and then I'll return this guy. And now if something is written from the stored proc, it should be accepted. So I will say this one @count. It is integer value, and it will accept the return value. So I will not send anything as output parameter. No output parameter is required. So these are the changes we have done. First thing, I remove this guy. Okay, and then I declare the orders count because it is not coming from the invoker function or invoker. And then I will get this total number of count in the orders count variable, and then I return the order count variable, right? And it will be accepted in the count variable here. So now first run this one because we have changed the stored proc. That is successful, and run this. So now you see that if you go to the messages, again same thing, the total number of orders are 332, and here we have not used the output parameter. So you can use the return keyword if you have only one integer value to be returned from the stored proc. Okay, so in the next tutorial we may see the how we can have multiple output parameter as well as the return value returned from the stored proc, and how we can call one stored proc from the another stored procedure. So let's see that in the another example. So thank you all for joining this tutorial, and I'll see you in the next one. Thank you. Hello all. In this example, we will see that how we can return the multiple output parameters from the stored proc, how we can call one stored procedure within the another stored procedure, and also how to use the return value from the stored proc. So let's write the very first stored procedure. So now what we want to do, I want to find out the details of any order. Okay, so let's say this is my order ID. Let's copy this. Okay, so I want all the order details, okay, for this order ID. So that could be your order, maybe order ID, your customer ID, then you have the sales and the total profit. Okay, so these three values, that is the sales, profit and customer ID, I want from this stored procedure to be returned. Okay, so let's write the procedure. So that is our very first procedure. And here I have one input parameter, that is the order ID. And then I have the three output parameters, that is your customer ID, your profit and your sales. Okay, so this procedure accepts one input parameter and it will send three output variables or the three output parameters. So now in this, I need to write the code. So here let's use another operator, that is the exist here. So now what it does, it will just check that whether order ID is available in this table. Okay, so whatever the order ID you are passing here, whether it will be available in this table. So you can select anything. I mean, it doesn't execute even. So select one. Okay, because it just, if they find it is true, then it will return true here. Else it will return false. It will never execute. So if it is available, then it will come to the if, else it will go to the else here. So if it is available, okay, if order ID is available, then I need to get these information. I'll return the value as 0, else I will return the value as 1. So that is my very first code procedure. And what it does, it accepts one input parameter, check whether that order ID is present in your orders table. If yes, then it will execute this block where it will fetch the customer ID, profit value as well as the sales value for that order and return 0. It means that it is true. Else it will return 1. So just execute this procedure. Now I'll create another procedure that will call this procedure. And this procedure will only take one input, that is the order ID. And because this procedure will call the initial procedure, and initial procedure returns these three parameter, because these are the output parameters. So we have to declare three variables, okay, which accept these parameters, and then one more variable that will accept the return value. So here we have to declare 4 variables here. So let me copy this one. And here I do not need to mention the output, because these are just the variables which will accept the value from the parameter. Okay, and one more variable I need to declare, that which will accept the return value, whether it's a return 0 or 1. It will be integer, right? So these are the declaration of 4 variables. So now I'll call this stored proc. So I can simply write execute, and it will accept the value that is 0 or 1 in the return value. Okay, and then I will send these three. Okay, it will accept first the order ID. So I will send the order ID, that is your input parameter. Then I'll mention the customer ID with the keyword output, then sales, and same for the profit as well. So now I just need to check what is the return value. So if my return value equals to 0, it means it is success, because when it is success, if X is, then it returns the 0. So if my return value equals to 0, then I'll print. Okay, then I'll print these variables, okay, which I get it as part of the output parameter. As this is the varchar, so I do not need to do any conversion here. The sales value is, and here I need to convert because that is the float. So I need to convert it to the varchar. Same thing I need to do for the profit as well. Okay, so these three I got it as part of my this initial procedure. Okay, but here I need to select all the all the columns from the orders table where my order ID is this. Okay, so this is the additional information which I want to provide as part of my initial procedure, but here I need to select all the information where order ID equals to @order ID. So now the calling or the invoker will pass the order ID, because this one accept the order ID. This is the input parameter. Okay, so this one we will pass it to this procedure, and also we are using it to get all the details for the particular order. If return value equals to 1, okay, return 1 means that this order ID does not exist. So else it will print no order exist. So now let's execute this procedure, and now call this procedure. So execute, and then we are not returning any integer here, so I do not need to mention the return or return value anything. Okay, so what I'll do, simply I'll use the name of the procedure and then the order ID. So order ID, initially I didn't identify this one, but you can use any order ID from the table. So now let's run this one. See here, for this order I get all the details. I get all the details, all the rows for this order, because that order contains multiple items. You see that you have the different product ID for this order, right? So all the details are available here. And then we have something, we fetch it from the previous stored proc. So if you go to the messages tab, you will see that the customer ID is this, the sales value, the profit value. So just a recap what we have done. Okay, we have executed this procedure. Okay, that is the display order details, and it receive only one input parameter. Now we have provided the more details here that what we want to achieve. Okay, so we want to execute another stored procedure here. Okay, and this one, if I go, it accept one input parameter and three output parameter. Okay, to provide the three output parameters or the values here. So we have mentioned the input parameter, okay, order ID, which we are sending here. Then we are accepting these three values from the previous stored procedure, this one, and also it returns 0 or 1 depends on whether my condition is true or not. For that we use the another operator, that is the exist here. So once the return value is 0, that means that order ID is present. Then it will fetch these values and print that in the messages tab. If the order is not exist, then it will print no order exist. So let's say if I give another order ID, let's say I just added 1 2 here, then it will not fetch any result and it will say no order exist here. Right, so that's all for this tutorial, and here we have seen multiple things that how we can execute one stored proc from another stored proc, how we can receive the multiple output parameter from the stored procedure, how to use the exist operator. So that's all for this tutorial, and I'll see you in the next one. Thank you.